This is my review, or maybe more random thoughts, on the movie Moneyball and the Oakland Athletics in general. Uh, 2011 it came out. The screenplay was by Aaron Sorkin. The year prior, he did The Social Network, so he's definitely known for writing compelling dialogue. This movie had a ton of quotable lines. I'll just go through a few of them, just because the writing's so good. Right near the very beginning, really sets the stage when he's talking to some of his scouts, and a couple of the scouts are commenting on this one player, and one guy's like going on about some really superficial bullshit reasoning, and says this guy's got an ugly girlfriend. An ugly girlfriend means he lacks confidence, so I'm concerned about this player. And just several quotes along that line of reasoning, and Brad Pitt, his character, Billy Bean, gets fed up after a few of those comments accumulate and just says, what the fuck is... Well, he basically... I'm paraphrasing, but it's basically like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? All I care about is results. Does this player get on base or not? And I'm not sure how accurate that scene is, but I wouldn't be shocked if there's a little bit of realism there. Which is really sad, and it's really pathetic. But unfortunately, there are a lot of stupid people that are in really important positions, which, yeah. Anyways. Another line that's really relatable, I think a lot of people would agree with this, is the one Billy Bean says, I hate losing more than I love winning, when he's just talking to a player casually. Which is so true. My assumption would be that when you win, it's a fleeting moment. You know, it feels great for a short time, but then it's gone before you know it. When you lose, it stays a lot longer. It just kind of settles, and it eats away at you for a bit, and it just settles there for a much longer duration. Which kind of sucks, but that seems to be the way it works, I would assume. Character development was great. I love where Billy Bean is definitely very level-headed for sure, very in control, and very cool. But he definitely has his moments where he flips out to some degree, but he kind of flips out while still being in control. A great example of this is the locker room scene. When the team is, again, probably didn't really happen in real life, but for the movie it was a terrific scene. Where the team is partying after they just lost the game, and I think they're on a losing streak, they're playing really terrible. And Billy Bean just walks into the locker room and says, is losing fun? Why are you guys having fun? We're playing terrible. And then he just throws a bat, and the room goes silent, holds for a couple of seconds, and says, that's what losing sounds like. Anyways, some great scenes. Those are just a few. I don't have that much more to... Well, and of course the Oakland Athletics, incredible accomplishment, which the movie goes into, winning 20 straight games, 103 wins at the regular season, but they lose in the playoffs in 5 games. And Billy Bean in the movie says, this winning streak is great and all, and this regular season's great, but if we don't win the last game of the year, nobody gives a shit. And that, yeah, so that's where it kind of gets, where you look at where the Oakland Athletics are now, and what's happened since, that's where it really kind of gets sad. But first, let me just jump back and say, of course, that year they did lose in 5 games to the Twins, and at the end of the movie, Joe Morgan says, you gotta, I kind of skipped over this part, but you gotta bunch, you gotta steal, you gotta do certain things to win ball games in the playoffs. And Billy Bean is known for a great mind at just looking for players that have a high on-base percentage and just finding players that are undervalued for whatever stupid reasons that people overlook them. But one of the things that is kind of puzzling and really does sound kind of dumb is that he suggests that bunting shouldn't be used, and that stealing bases should not be used, at least not very often. which yeah, uh, um, it's hard to win playoff games without doing this type of things. Depending on what type of ball club, uh, depending on what type of team you've had. The team that won it that year, I guess Anaheim Angels at the time, were very exciting. They stole a lot of bases. They had a double steal against the Twins, so they were an extremely entertaining team, and stolen bases was a big part of that game. And 2000 year was a great year for the underdog. Actually, I think every playoff series, the underdog came out winning. So that was a very exciting, unpredictable year for baseball, and a year that I really loved. The Angels. I was actually really happy the Angels won the World Series. And that's happened several times with like the Red Sox, Royals, etc. There's a lot of teams that have relied on stolen bases that have played a pivotal role at some point to help them win the World Series. So those bunting, I can't really think of examples, but obviously it's an important part of the game. So those two aspects are kind of puzzling, and I'm not sure if that was played up more for dramatic effect in the movie, or if that really was to some degree the Oakland Athletics strategy and what Billy Beane thought. And if that is the case, it does, yeah, kind of seem dumb, despite all the great things that the movie suggested that he did. But here's Billy Beane's been in position of power for like 20 years now, and here's what you can't get around, and here's actually what's really kind of disappointing, you know, because it was such a great movie, and the Oakland Athletics, being such a small market team, not competing with, being at the bottom of the league in terms of their payroll, you know, you want to root for a team like that, obviously. But since that, so in the last 20 years, the Oakland Athletics have a record of 1-9 in playoff series. So in the playoffs, they lose 90% of the time, which is, it boggles the mind of it. It really does. Because in 2002, they had this 20-game win streak. They won 103 games. And they've been to the playoffs on a somewhat consistent basis. And they obviously do a lot of things well. But yeah, last 20 years, record in the playoffs is 1-9. They lose in the playoffs 90% of the time. And on top of that, 6 playoff series have gone 5 games in the first round to the decisive 5th game, and they lose. And that sucks. It really does. I mean, you want to kind of think of this movie as inspirational, but just looking at the facts, they are what they are, and it kind of sucks. It just does. And at the end of the movie, he gets offered the position in Boston to be a general manager for a ton of money. I think it was like over $12 million or something. He turns it down. Since then, Boston's won 4 World Series. They've had an amazing success, and the Oakland Athletics have had some regular season success, but in the playoffs, it's been horrendous. It's been not good, like I've already mentioned. So, yeah. That kind of makes the movie Moneyball even more interesting, looking back at it 8 years later and seeing that the Oakland Athletics are not any closer to finding a formula to give them success in the playoffs. They've kind of just been stumbling through futility when they happen to make the playoffs. And yeah, that's a good question though. Like, when he said in 2002, we won 20 straight games, but you know it's largely meaningless. For the most part, I think I do kind of agree with that. Unfortunately, it sucks to say, and I do want to think of the movie as inspirational and sort of like being optimistic in some degree. But if you don't win the playoffs, it's hard to look at that way. Yeah, great movie though. Still a great movie, whatever way you happen to look at it, and it's a very interesting story, for sure. No, I don't think there's any debate there. But from a playoff perspective, not great.